disciplinary findings together, I established a set of 8 criteria drawn from anthropology, history, psychology, genetics, neurology, and I came up with a multiple theory of intelligence. For me, an intelligence is a potential to process information that comes in through your eyes or your ears or your hands so that you can solve problems or make things which are valued in at least one culture or community. That's the definition, but I think an analogy or metaphor works better. The traditional view of intelligence suggests we have a single mainframe computer inside our skull. And if that computer works well, you're smart in everything. If it works average, you're average in everything. If it works slowly, you're kind of dumb in everything. I believe we have several computers in our mind-brain. Language computers, music computers, personal computers, and so on. And there are probably a few people where all the computers work well, a few people where none of the computers works well, but most of us are an amalgam, a combination of some computers that are quite good, some computers that are average, and some computers which don't work very well. That, in essence, is multiple intelligence theory. The first intelligence, linguistic intelligence, is the intelligence of the writer, the orator, the poet, the journalist, people who use language as their major activity. The second intelligence is logical mathematical intelligence. That's the intelligence of the mathematician or the scientist. Most intelligence tests only look at those two intelligences. And they're important for school, especially a Western secular school, as we had in Europe and then in the Americas in the 20th century. Whether it's appropriate for a digital school of the 21st century, nobody knows. If you're good in language and logic, you will succeed at most Western schools, and as long as you stay in school, you'll think you're smart. But if you should ever navigate the streets of Sao Paulo in an automobile, or you should ever try to survive in the Amazon, you will discover that there are other kinds of intelligence which are at least as important. Musical intelligence, the intelligence of performers, singers, composers, conductors. I understand now in Brazil there is a movement to get more young children able to play violin and other instruments. That's musical intelligence. A fourth intelligence is spatial intelligence, the intelligence that allows us to navigate wide space, like a sailor or an airplane pilot, or more local kinds of space, like a sculptor or chess player. My example of spatial intelligence is an architect, and I was delighted to learn that one of the world's most famous architects, Oscar Niemeyer, is still alive, over 100 years of age, and still working in Brazil. That gives us a lot of hope. A fifth kind of intelligence is bodily intelligence, the intelligence of the athlete, the dancer. Someone like Pelé undoubtedly has a lot of bodily kinesthetic intelligence. It's also the intelligence of a craftsperson or a surgeon, people who use their whole bodies or parts of their bodies, like their hands or their mouth, to solve problems or to make things. Interpersonal intelligence is the intelligence of understanding other people. Obviously, it's important for leaders, teachers, clinicians, salespeople, people who are in religion, who have a congregation. All of those involve interpersonal intelligence. Some people call it social intelligence. A very interesting intelligence is intrapersonal intelligence, understanding of yourself. Having a good model of who you are, what your strengths are, what you're trying to achieve, what happens when something goes wrong. It's a very important intelligence. We don't know anything about how to teach it. An eighth intelligence, which I did not write about until 10 years ago, is the naturalist intelligence. It's the intelligence that allowed us to recognize the differences between plants, between animals, between rock formations, between clouds, the world of nature. None of us would be here if our ancestors had not known what to eat and what not to eat, what animals to pursue, which animals to run away from. But now, most of us don't have to work in the world of nature. We just go to the grocery store. But the parts of our brain which evolved to discriminate in the world of nature, we now use for consumption. Which automobile to buy, which sneakers to buy. We use that part of the mind-brain to navigate the world of consumption. There might be a ninth intelligence, which I call the existential intelligence. It's the intelligence of big questions. What's going to happen to us? Does God love me? What is love? What is God? I think this is a useful concept, but I'm not certain, because I would like to know whether there are parts of the brain which evolved to deal with questions which are too big or too little to perceive, these questions of existence. So now I say we have probably 8.5 intelligences.